Suns have set, suns have risen again, shadows have grown long, and the day is shorter, setting the perfect stage for iRacing's GT3 beasts on some of the world's best racing circuits, with some of the best drivers in iRacing driving them. Back for more NARL GT3 action? Good, because so are we. It's the North American Racing League on Pitstop TV. And welcome to the virtual Monza, Italy. JP Costa, what a wonderful backdrop this Italian scenery makes for what is set to be an absolutely thrilling season opener. And you see the racetrack that JP is talking about there. It is, of course, the Monza that so many of us already know. But if you don't know Monza just yet, the long front stretch rockets you down to a very tight first chicane, and it's literally just called the first chicane, or turn 1, turn 2, what have you, before you round Curva Grande, a long sweeping right-hander that really puts some cars on edge. And if there isn't enough downforce dialed into that rear wing or dialed into the setup in general, you might find yourself either spinning around or potentially pushing off the racetrack, and certainly potentially on the wrong side of the racetrack by the time you get down to the second chicane, JP, and then you set up for Lesmo 1 and 2, and those are two of the toughest corners on this racetrack.
The second chicane, but it's extremely tricky. And turn 7, Lesmo number 2, obviously is going to set you up for the massive back straight as you head on to Ascari chicane, a very famous corner that turns 8, 9, and 10 section. You go left, right, and then left again, and then you head to a small, I guess, second back straight, you can call it, Andrew, and then to the world famous Curva Parabolica, and then that's turn 11, and you get to do that all over again in one of the fastest courses in the world.
And something that's been going through my mind recently in preparing myself for Monza and just getting ready for the start of the season is the fact that this is one of those tracks that almost feels a bit like an oval. And of course, Monza has the oval on the property, no longer used in real racing, but it is available in iRacing. But it feels a bit like an oval, not because of the shape, but because of the way you have to drive it and the way each lap links into the next. A lot like on an oval course, or well, an oval track, whatever you want to call it, each corner is very, very important. There's no throwaway corners. Each corner feeds into the next straightaway and then into the next corner, and each corner matters so much here as to how you do over the course of one single lap. And if you miss any one corner, there's really, I guess Lesmo 1 is maybe the one corner that you can kind of throw away. There's no other corner on here that you can make a bit of a mistake and be okay on the subsequent straightaway. Doesn't matter if you're coming out of Parabolica, which I think is the most important corner on this entire racetrack. You've got a long straightaway. You've got to maximize exit speed. You can be exiting turn 2 and into Curva Grande. You've got to maximize the corner because you've got to maximize exit speed, and you've got to make sure you get everything you can get out of your race car here at Monza. There is no resting in a lap around this place.
Yeah, exactly. If drivers are running with the relative, or if you have run with your relative box open, you would know, as Andrew said, if you make a small mistake on turns 2, on turns 5, on turn 7, or turn 10, or even 11, you're going to see that ticker go on the red marker really quickly, and you're just going to be losing time all over it. And we know, Andrew, how close this field gets whenever we go to race time. So a small mistake is going to cost these boys a lot of time in a lot of positions.
Now, in preparation for this broadcast, I went looking around for the lap record in a GT3 car here, and I know Blancpain has run here before, and other GT3 cars have probably turned plenty of laps here, but I couldn't find just a straight-up GT3 lap record. The best I could find was a DTM lap record set earlier this year with the brand new Ferrari 488, or at least brand new to iRacing, the brand new Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo 2020. That was a 147.714 set by Liam Lawson in DTM competition earlier this year. Of course, the world record here held by Rubens Barrichello in a 2004 Formula One Ferrari. Not at all surprising that Ferraris are fast at Monza. Ferrari and Monza go hand in hand. It almost feels wrong anytime any manufacturer other than a Ferrari wins here. It makes sense that Ferrari holds those couple of records. Speaking of records, there's a lot of records that were kept from last season, including that, of course, of standings. Fabio Zamperlini comes into this one fresh off a championship. This is how things shook out, and we took a look at these, of course, back at Long Beach for Cash Days, JP, but this is how close everything came. And look at that, Spencer Ewins, of course, won the championship in the amateur category. He moves up to pro this season.
Exactly, so we do have a few changes on the amateur and the pro scene, and also we do have brand new drivers as well, so this should make things a lot more interesting. And obviously, Andrew, you and I remember making the calculations on the go on the final round. I can't remember the track name. I remember it was in England, but I remember Donington Park. Yeah, that's it. I remember us making the calculations on the go after the disaster race that went for Jackson Rezende and the unfortunate incident for Matthew Dench. So I expect this 8-round championship to be exactly the same, close and down to the wire.
Absolutely. I do want to thank everybody for joining us this evening on our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter platforms as we get ready to go through our Season 2 schedule. Let's take a look at it. Obviously, we can lock in Monza. Well, we're here. We're at Monza. We see Monza in front of us. Obviously, this is round number 1. But where do we go next week for round number 2? Do you want to take a guess, JP?
Let you show the viewers.
Well, we're going to Watkins Glen next week. Watkins Glen International, of course, the very, very fast, twisty-ish, but also, as Emerson Arden once put it, a Popeye's biscuit away from being an oval. Watkins Glen, fantastic road course. Now, obviously, we'll be running the boot there, as opposed to just the NASCAR Cup course. So that makes it maybe a few more Popeye's biscuits away from being an oval, but still, Watkins Glen looks very simple, ends up being very technical, much like Monza. Looks pretty simple, but every corner is going to matter so much over the course of a lap. Spa checks in at round number 3, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. I mean, it doesn't need any introduction. It is Spa. It is that place. It is so difficult to get around. Can't wait to do it in a couple of weeks with GT3 cars. Then after a couple of weeks break, I guess 1 week break, we go to Belle Isle. Of course, the street course in Detroit. That's going to be interesting. JP, I'm looking forward to it.
So am I. That's going to make for such an interesting route, and I'm pretty sure it should shake up the championship quite a bit. After that, we go to Silverstone, and obviously, I guess, the most famous English or British racing course, obviously hosts F1, and obviously, all the time, it produces great racing. And then we go to, at least for me, a brand new iRacing track. I have never commentated around it. I had actually never seen a lap around it on iRacing, the Hungaroring. I'm quite excited for it. It doesn't really provide great racing, but is extremely tricky, at least on Formula 1 cars. Obviously, then we go to Australia, to Phillip Island. That should also be a very interesting route. It's a very fast circuit. It provides great racing on the V8 supercars. And then we round off the final race, the finale, on the United States at Road America. That should also be a very interesting racetrack, because GT3, they race a lot there, so these drivers should have plenty of practice. And Andrew, you know me, and obviously I couldn't talk about the season schedule without mentioning how unfortunate it is that we don't have Interlagos.
Well, we do have some pretty good racetracks, and Hungaroring, as you mentioned, that's brand new to the sim. That's brand new to me as well. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a lap around Hungaroring at all. It doesn't matter if it's F1 or anything else. I don't think I've ever seen a lap there. I cannot wait to get to the Hungaroring and be able to cover that race. That'll be a bit of an unknown, certainly. Phillip Island, that one fits in as an unknown as well, but I'm glad that we have an Australian date on the schedule. That is going to, I'm sure, tickle Matthew Dench pink, I dare say, for round number 7. That should be pretty cool to see. A lot going on this evening. Practice is well underway, as you might be able to tell. Let's take a look at those practice times so far, JP. Matthew Dench, I just mentioned him. He checks in at the top of the speed chart. How about Mikael Ruderbusch, though? Brand new to NARL competition. We've seen this guy before. Look at his PSM colors on the side of that Ferrari. Yeah, we're familiar with Pacific Sim Motorsport from previous GT3 leagues. Good to see him out in the field. Mikael Ruderbusch sitting in second currently, ahead of somebody who almost went and won himself an amateur championship last season, Bruno Alcaraz, sitting currently in third in practice.
Exactly, I was just going to mention to you, Mikael Ruderbusch. It's so nice to see him back. And, well, being competitive on the NARL, that's extremely nice to see. Obviously, then we do have Jackson Rezende up in 4th place, so that's also going to be very interesting. We do have Scott Reister. I'm going to skip Rodriguez quickly, but obviously Scott Reister, one of those guys that we're kind of used to seeing from last season. So we do have a bunch of new names, Andrew. We do have a stacked field this season, and it's going to be hard to cover all of them, but I'm pretty sure if they race quite right, we should get a very good view of the whole field, at least tonight.
Yeah, it's worth prefacing that we do see that there are 51 drivers for this evening's race here at Monza. It's going to be near impossible to cover them all, so we apologize in advance if we potentially don't say anybody's name at one point during this race. Unfortunately, that is the way it goes with 51 cars on the racetrack. That's pretty incredible. And that's just a testament to what these guys at the North American Racing League have been able to do in recent weeks, recent months, to be able to put together this driver count. This is insane, absolutely mental, as the Brits might say. 51 cars for race number 1, and there are others that were not able to join us this evening. For example, Fabio Zamperlini, our reigning champion, out in the YouTube chat mentioning that he's got hardware issues, he's not able to race this evening, though if he could race this evening, he's got some new teammates. Now, well, moving on from the Kanani Esports stable that has also changed its name to Full-Time Esports, Fabio Zamperlini instead joins Spencer Hewins, brand new to the pro category, and Matthew Dench, somebody that almost wrapped up a championship last season in pro, and they will race under the Duck Hawk Racing Team banner. So those three, I think, that's a pretty solid lineup. You've got 2 champions and 1 almost champion. That is a team set for success.
Exactly, that's not the only strong team. Obviously, this team is going to be absolutely mental. We saw, as you mentioned, mental, like the British say. But Matthew Dench came so close to winning the championship last season, and he did that all by himself. He didn't have a single teammate, and he did that all for himself. And then he has, obviously, now at least the company of a champion, Fabio Zamperlini, who we didn't think could win the championship at one point, obviously got turned around on his head. But we do have some amazing teams, Full-Time Esports, as you mentioned, the Kanan Esports renamed. We do have NARL Racing, you could mention, Scott Racing, obviously it's nice to see them back, and a bunch other teams that we're going to try to mention over the course of the broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. From Big Bromble Motorsports, a team that we saw in the Cash Days at Long Beach event a few weeks back, to Dark Horse Esports with Brian DeVries and Kevin Sandiego. We mentioned Duck Hawk. We've got Evolution Racing out there, Full-Time Esports. Many drivers running under the independent team name. Wonder about that one. Of course, they're independent drivers. They don't have a team. We've also got GPVA Racing Team, Chaos Latin Gamers, Quality Control. Love that name. Quality Control. That is the best name, I think, in the league. NARL Racing, as you mentioned, teamed up with Team Empire. We also got Oceana Coffee, Pacific Sim Motorsports in the form of Mikhail Rudabush, Rabbit Chase Racing, Ram Racing Esports, Samsoid Kanan, Scott Racing, SDS Racing, SR4S for Brian D. Long, Team Empire Blue, Team Empire White, Wahuka Racing, and finally Extreme Speed Motorsports, Pierre Thompson, their one lone driver. Those are all of the teams in competition. That's a lot. Cannot wait to get things rolling. Before we do, though, we're getting into qualifying. Let's take a quick break. Let's refresh a little bit, catch back up, and we'll be right back to you here in a few moments with qualifying coverage from Round 1 in Season 2. It's Monza.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of 2 products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
Welcome back to the virtual Monza, Italy. What a wonderful course to get the season started with. Of course, this is Season 2 of the North American Racing League. Season 1 could not disappoint if it tried. Season 2, I think, will be a lot of the same. We've already talked a lot about it this evening, JP. Let's talk about qualifying then. It's underway. Several drivers already taking to the race course. Here is Spencer Hewins sporting the number 01. He's a champion. He gets to do that.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's carrying a lot of pressure on his shoulders to deliver, especially being round 1. You don't want to start off the season on the back foot. Obviously, we know that Fabio Zamperlini, the reigning pro champion, unfortunately is not going to be racing with us tonight, but Spencer Hewins, I'm pretty sure he's opening his lap. He's going to be opening his lap. No, might as well be finishing, as we do have a few drivers setting up lap times. Matthew Dench, one that we're kind of used to seeing in P1, already setting the fastest time of the day. So we're going to see Spencer Hewins, his teammate, can step up to the occasion. I do apologize.
Here we go. Spencer Hewins across the line shall go. Let's wait for the time to come in. Looks like he goes 12th. That's not so bad, and we'll bring up the rest of the tickers so you can see exactly where these drivers are sorting out. Matthew Dench, fastest so far. No, not anymore. Pedro de Oliveira, he goes fastest. It's the number 250. No surprise. It's from Full Time Esports. How about that? The number 250. It looks like his name is kind of displaying in a weird way. We apologize there, but unfortunately that sorts itself out automatically. Here's Mikael Rudebusch sitting in third currently in practice. Looked very, very good third in qualifying. Looked very good in practice. Now looking pretty solid in qualifying as well, but a little bit of dirt there. That's going to scrub lap 2.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like this lap might be on the books. It's not going to be a good lap, but, well, in third place at the moment, he's doing pretty well for himself on his debut at the NARL. I'm expecting quite a good result for him. You know, obviously, Monza is such a tricky track to get a good result. You can get away with not having the best one-lap pace. But, yeah, we're going to see a very, very mixed-up grid. Looks like we do have an amateur driver in P5, and as we're looking to him on our screen, Andrew, as we're used to in NARL, we do have quite a few amateur surprises throughout the season, don't we?
Yeah, this one is Juan Mativ, currently sitting in the 5th position. This is a really strong qualifying run so far. Now, of course, in the North American Racing League, these guys do not have custom setups. They are fixed setup races in these GT3 cars, all set to the same downforce spec. That's what they're based off of. Each car is going to have some differences, obviously, because they're different cars, much like street cars. There are differences, but they are all set to make the same amount of downforce, or at least as close as they can get. And it seems like the BMWs and Ferraris are taking things away today. One of those BMWs being this amateur of Juan Mativ. And in the fixed setup, the reason I bring that up is because that levels the playing field, not just for everybody within their own classes, but for everybody in the entire field. You can see the one yellow number right there, that is one of the amateurs. That is Juan Mativ that we are watching. And if you hadn't been able to tell just yet, our pros are in those blue-greenish number plates with the white numbers, and then, of course, yellow with black numbers for the amateur. There are 2 classes here in the North American Racing League. Those are sorted by driver I ratings, not necessarily by driver speed. So this is one, I guess, exception to the rule where Juan Mativ, he's got a bit of a lower I rating, at least below the average, and therefore gets sorted into amateur, but might have a little bit more pace than we expected.
Yeah, 100%. This could be, obviously it could be a fluke, but, you know, it sometimes shows the one-lap pace. We saw last season, you know, amateur drivers kind of upsetting, you know, not really upsetting, but, no, just putting something like a surprise on the results, and I hope to see that again this season, and it looks like we're going to see that again. At least so far, we do have a few amateur drivers on the top 20, which is really, really good to see, especially how big this field is, as we do have Jackson Rezende. Looks like he's 2/10 off pole, puts himself in third place, so kind of what do we expect for him? You know, close to Matthew Dench, looks like 1.5 tenths off, so might look to improve, but Mikael Rudebusch again 4th place, Lopez in 5th, Mieres in 6th, De Vries, a new name, in 7th, Rodriguez, Mativ, and Kim, they run off the top 10, so a very, very close field, I'd say, Andrew.
Here is Tay Kim in his BMW, currently sitting in the 9th position overall. And, well, that is, of course, 9th in class as well, as he is just ahead of Juan Mativ on the timing charts. Kevin Sandiego, somebody that we've mentioned before, he ran at Long Beach. I forget the team name, but Kevin Sandiego has run with NARL once before, has not run in... Oh, there you go, Dark Horse Esports, plastered on the side of the car. Come on, Andrew. But we've seen Kevin Sandiego in previous leagues. Good to see him getting into NARL now. now. Juan Rivas Brea sitting right behind him in 13th. A lot of new names and a lot of names that we're going to have to get used to. And hey, look at this. We've got a McLaren, and this is in 13th spot. This is good to see. A little bit of parity within the field. Of course, we're going to expect to see Ferraris fast at Monza, but there's a lot of BMWs joining them. It's good to see a McLaren towards the top.
Exactly. So it's so nice to see a different car running in a sea of Ferraris and BMWs. And it's going to be interesting to see how the McLaren handles. Obviously, it's a very tricky car to handle, even on a fixed setup. So fuel efficiency, fuel mileage might make a difference running this car. But if it's only one of the few McLarens, it's going to be interesting to see where it fends off, especially on a track like Monza.
Here's another one of those full-time esports entries, and it is, of course, a Ferrari. It is Guillermo Caratoni. I believe we saw a little bit of him back at Long Beach as well. The number 149 looking pretty good. Pops those curves through, was that the second chicane it looks like? Yeah, he'll go into Lesmo 1 now. And he sits currently in the 13th spot. Drivers moving around a little bit higher up. Matthew Dench, we talked about him being so good a season ago. Now teamed up with some new partners and sitting in third currently in qualifying.
He's doing fantastically well. Something we're kind of used to seeing. Matthew Dench is the name that we're used to seeing running at the top. Looks like he's going to practice a bit of pit entry, as Mikhail Rudovic looks like he goes up into second place. A really, really good qualifying for him. William Coffey, someone else that we're kind of used to, also practicing pit entry. This is something, Andrew, that these drivers should really take into consideration. Pit entry around Monza is extremely, extremely tricky. You're coming up out of Parabolica, such a high-speed corners with such high speeds, and then the pit entry just comes at you and you have to stop so quickly. And a small mistake might just get you a penalty, and a penalty around here, well, it's deadly for your race.
Taking a look there at Scott Reister, who ends up not being able to get a time in. That's going to be big. Scott Reister, one of the championship competitors last season. That's going to be huge. If he's not able to drive through this field, he will be starting from the 49th position. 49 cars. Now, we're not going to have time to go through all of these drivers, but let's at least give it a shot here, JP. At least starting in the top 10. Let's go through them. We've got Pedro de Oliveira in the 250. Mikel Rudovic starts from the outside pole in the number 222. Starting third this evening, it's none other than Matthew Dench. Starting fourth, it's Juan Brea. Starting from the 5th position, Jackson Rosende, followed up by Jose Lopez. I believe that's Jose Antonio Ramos Lopez sitting in 6th. Ezequiel Mieres will start from the 7th position, with Brian DeVries in 8th. Bryce Rodriguez Jr. rounds out 9th, and Tae Kim will start from 10th.
In 11th place, we're going to have the 120 of Juan Matev and the 211 of Scott Kimbrough on the 12th place on the outside lane. In 13th place, we're going to have Kevin Diego on the 288 and Bruno Alcaraz in the 244 on the outside lane. Row number 8, we're going to have Tristan Terracciano. I'm pretty sure I butchered that on the 264. Terracciano, that sounds Italian. Yeah, that sounds Italian. Hopefully he's driving a Ferrari. It would be pretty amazing to see him win. The 251 of Osmar Camargo is going to start on the outside lane. On row number 9, we're going to have Guilherme Carretoni on the 149 and the 167 of Blake Scott. And finally, in the row 10, in the 10th row, we're going to have Spencer Hewins in the 01 and the 113 of Pablo Ferretti.
Hopefully that covers most of your guys' favorites. We'll let the rest go on by here. You can see Jose Antonio Ramos, the other Jose Antonio Ramos, I guess, if you will. We've got Brian Long back here in 24th, several other drivers throughout the field. So several drivers to root for. I mean, there's 51 of them for you to choose from, and I know a lot of you guys already have a lot of your favorites. Seeing a lot of your names already in the YouTube chat. By all means, let us know where you're watching from this evening, who you're rooting for. I'm sure you guys already have your very devoted, if you will, drivers, or I guess you are devoted to a driver, or however you want to put it. Regardless, we've got 51 cars ready to go from Monza. It's going to be a lot of fun. As these names finish up, you can see we're getting down to 41st, 42nd. We're almost to 40. There we go, 43rd. That's a NASCAR field size from the old days. There we go, 46th position, Johnny Jones. 47th and 48th right here, David O'Connor. 49th, this is where I mentioned Scott Reister. He'll start deep in this field. He's got a pro alongside in Joshua Jensen, and the final starting position this evening going to Clarence Rosa in the number 101. Not starting anything. I do want to move over to weather. All right, now I'm not gonna lie, I just got very distracted by my cat knocking down a camera battery charger, and we'll deal with that later. But weather this afternoon. It's a nice calm day, JP. This is perfect racing weather. You can see 71, about 72 degrees in the air, clear skies, 73 degrees track temp, and I'm sure that will come up here very, very shortly. Very calm winds. It's a perfect day for racing. Cannot wait to get this thing rolling. You can see the nice red, white, and green curbing to match the Italian flag. And through Curva Parabolica, each of these drivers, I guess they could tug on the virtual belts one more time, get ready to go racing. This is going to be fun. Down to the start-finish line they will go. We'll go silent and let you guys listen as the green flag drops on another North American Racing League season. A lot of 3 wide to turn 1. This is a trouble spot. A lot of drivers are already ready for a lot of trouble. Looks like so far 1 car off, but otherwise we get through it okay. I don't think we've had a crash just yet. We're going to knock on wood, JP, because who knows, it could happen in the next chicane.
I knocked on mine as well, so it looks like we do have a clean turn 1 in Monza. It's so amazing to see. It looks like the leader absolutely shot off in the distance as we do have battles. Looks like for second looks like everybody's back on the train, but further back you can see cars going side by side through Variante Alta, the second chicane, and it looks like those side-by-side battles will continue through Lesmo 1. Looks like some of them back off, but look at that gap that the leader has.
And that is Pedro de Oliveira working out to a big race lead already over Mikel Rudebusch. Matthew Dench sitting into 3rd now. Jackson Resende sorts into 4th. Just look at this field continue to work their way around Monza for the first time at speed. It was Juan Rivas Brea that we mentioned in that lone McLaren, at least that we've seen so far, sitting in 5th. This is pretty solid. A really good start for Juan.
Exactly, this is a fantastic start, and that McLaren could really put a lot of these guys under pressure. You actually don't know what to expect. Looks like we do have a spin outside of Parabolica, the Ascari. And it looks like that's a Ferrari. Be careful on the rejoin. Looks like he takes his care. I saw puff of smoke, but looks like we do have another one.
A lot is going on back here. It's going to be hard to get replays of those incidents, but a lot going on later on in the lap. Wrapping up lap number 1, though, it's going to go the way of Pedro de Oliveira leading lap number 1. You can see that took almost 2 minutes out of this race. These drivers, they're going to have to work down to about the halfway point. From there, the pit window will open up. That's when we'll start to see some pit stops. They will not need to take tires in this race, just fuel, JP, which tends to give us a pretty normal as Jackson Resende goes around. Another driver with him, that is Take Him in turn 1.
Oh, that's a big mistake. I'm not pretty sure what happened there, but that's not something we're kind of used to seeing from Jackson Resende. We're going to have to take a look at the replay to see what happened. That was down into turn 1, so definitely something happened in the braking zone. We're going to have to take a look. And as you can see, it looks like Jackson Resende fighting off Take Him. Is that correct? But it looks like that's the McLaren.
That's the McLaren.
Oh, no, that's the McLaren.
That's Juan Rivas.
Oh, so that's going to be interesting to see. The McLaren goes around the outside. Rivas goes around the outside. Resende keeps on the inside. Do they touch on the approach? No. So, kind of odd what happened. Oh, Resende spun by himself.
And Take Him goes around, it looks like, somewhat unrelated. Yeah, he goes around on his own later on. And, there was more contact further back. Look at all of this happening. This is down to turn 1. This was lap number 2. Who was that was involved? And, he goes around again. That was Scott Angelo out of Florida, the number 268. So that wraps up lap 2's excitement, I suppose, down into turn number 1. Heading down to Parabolica, though, we will rejoin our leaders momentarily. And it's all the full-time esports entry of Pedro de Oliveira.
Yeah, looks like he's having a commanding lead, but looks like that lead is being cut short. Mikel Rudebusch showing great pace and slowly catching him. The lead is not as great as it was. The gap is not as big as it was at the end of lap 1, so just as we see, 147.7 for Mikel Rudebusch. That's a fast lap to set on the beginning of the race. He has a full tank of fuel, and Matthew Dench just closing in, following. We all know how patient Matthew is and how well he can save fuel, so I mean, I'm not expecting that much aggressiveness from Dench, but do expect some smart strategy that could see him up into P1 after the pit cycle.
And Matthew Dench could easily work these drivers ahead of him to get back into the lead. At least that's where we usually expect him, is the lead for Matthew Dench. These drivers working through the second chicane. These three have kind of separated themselves from Juan Rivas, and there was that contact, of course, a lap ago that moved Juan Rivas Brea back a little bit, now into the hands of, it looks like, Ezequiel Mieres. A lot of names to try and get used to. It's going to take a little bit. Juan Metiv, though, somebody that we talked a little bit about earlier on in practice and qualifying. Look at this guy. 6th position overall. That's pretty solid.
Yes, exactly. That's a pretty big start. That's an amazing start, actually, to his season. If he can keep this up, obviously a lot of pressure, a lot of pro drivers. As looks like Blake Scott is also in the top 10. That's a fantastic start for the Scott Racing team. So I'm hoping he can get a good result. Looks like he's driving the Lamborghini, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
So, well, that's an interesting and bold choice. We've seen some Audis, so the Lamborghini is quite similar to the Audi, but obviously in a sea of Ferraris and BMWs, I'll definitely take a different car.
Yeah, we see that Audi in front of him. That's, of course, Scott Kimbrough that we've seen a lot of in Audis, and usually Audis and McLarens, I believe, we've seen Kimbrough run. And, of course, that's a very familiar number 211 that we've seen before. Kevin Sandiego sitting in 9th behind these guys, and Tristan Terracciano bringing up the top 10. That is another McLaren. That's one of the McLarens that we got used to seeing back at Long Beach, and I got to refresh myself on the team name there, but I believe that is, yes, that is Quality Control Racing, and they placed on the podium, I do believe. I'd have to go back and look at the results to completely refresh myself, but a solid run at Long Beach nonetheless. Here's a pass, though. Spencer Hewins getting past. That's rare.
Yes, exactly. Not something we're used to seeing last season, but, well, he's getting passed by Jackson Resende,
yeah.
So I guess that, well, that makes a bit of sense. Jackson Resende will definitely be attacking a lot more than we're kind of used to after his spin out in turn 2 actually. So kind of odd seeing a Ferrari spin out like that, especially behind a McLaren. But, you know, Spencer Hewins also right now has to defend from, looks like, Ferretti behind him, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. He has a massive train, but if he can keep up on the slipstream of Jackson Resende, he should be quite okay.
That's Pablo Ferretti sitting in 14th, right behind Spencer Hewins. These guys working through the Lesmos now. This is 13th and 14th and 15th that we're watching on the screen. The other car is Julian Bell in the number 252. So Julian rounding out this little three-way battle, it seems, ahead of Jose Antonio Ramos and Diego Ere. I'm hoping that's a little bit correct. My Spanish and, of course, then by proxy, Portuguese is not nearly as good as English, so we'll say it that way. It's not great, but we'll do our best. Pedro de Oliveira is still leading the race here, JP, but these battles back here, they're going to start to get good. Here we go. This is the draft that you have to work at Monza. It's just like in a NASCAR track where you've got to work the slipstream, got to work the draft, and use a slingshot into a corner. Julian Bell works it to perfection at a parabolica. That is how you've got to pass here.
Exactly, you have to be brave and you have to be willing to lose a bit of time to get past, otherwise you just get stuck. It looks like the McLaren might not have the legs on a straight line as the Ferrari has, and I saw that the Ferrari just kind of shooting itself.
Whoa!
Oh, looks like we do have a car exiting the pit lane, I'm not pretty sure. Looks like it is, so kind of, I don't know, kind of just getting in the way of everybody. It looks like it's going to be stopping to let everybody through, and that kind of upset a few drivers. I'm not pretty sure who that is. That is David O'Connor, so not a great start. Looks like he's in 45th position.
And well, just like in real life, in plenty of real racing series across the globe, there are amateur classes for a reason. They might have a little bit less experience, not know what to do in that situation, and David O'Connor made the best of what he had right there, oftentimes making lemonade out of lemons. So he does his best, gets those guys on by, no harm, no foul. It may have hurt their times a little bit, but all things considered, they're still racing. They move on. They live to see the next corner.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure these guys will take a few tenths of a second over a few seconds of repair any time of the day, but it looks like the battle for the lead is still going. I'm not pretty sure what we're going to see here in terms of strategy, if we're going to see Michael Rudebusch attacking for the lead or just saving, but it does look very interesting seeing these three up at the top. Look at this. It's so amazing to see the leader going defensive, especially on Monza. You know, such a fast track, seeing these Ferraris go so fast, and a three-way battle for the lead, well, I'm definitely taking it.
This is Chris Winston in front of these guys. Winston, I'm not exactly sure. This would be the next lap car that these drivers have to contend with, and this is the number 137, also in the amateur category. A lot of these drivers towards the bottom of the field, of course, well, they had some issues, and that's why they're back there. One of those including Mark Scott, the father of Blake Scott, and the more senior competitor there for Scott Racing, the number 166 Lamborghini, sitting, it looks like, in 38th spot. At least that's where scoring is putting him currently. Now, with this many cars, 51 to be exact, there will be discrepancies, so work with us as far as timing and scoring goes in that aspect. But Mark Scott, it looks like, well, now he's sorting around at different spots, but I think he's sitting in about 38th position, maybe 31st. We'll find out later on.
Yeah, looks like, well, obviously with this many cars, it's going to be difficult seeing how the cars render. But yeah, Blake Scott should definitely, Mark Scott, sorry, as we do have a battle, looks like with teammates, if I'm not mistaken, if my eyes are not deceiving me, looks like it is. So I'm not pretty sure if team orders were in effect, as Jackson Resende did get past Oscar Camargo. So it's going to be interesting. Oh, look at it. Oscar is going back at Jackson after a small mistake exiting Variante Alta. Well, looks like we do have a teammate battle. I'm all for it, Andrew.
And this is bringing Spencer Hewins right back into the conversation. So 3 pro drivers going at it. Now, Spencer Hewins is listed in the number 01. That will be his number for this season. You can see that. You get to choose 01, well, because he was a champion. So he gets assigned that number, or at least the opportunity to be assigned that number, just like champions in F1 have the opportunity to go for number 1. And I believe it's the same way in IndyCar and probably several other series across the globe. That is a privilege held just for the champion. But since there's 2 champions, well, 01 goes to the amateur champion. I think that makes sense. So Spencer Hewins battling here with Resende, who drops behind Camargo. These 2 drivers doing some team battling, and it's bringing the Canadian into the fight.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like they're going to be stuck in a battle, but looks like Resende, if I'm not mistaken, does have a bit of damage in that back part of the BMW. Obviously, he came in contact after his spin out in turn 2, so a bit of damage to contend. It looks like, yeah, looks like we're going to have maybe a 3-wide battle here. I would certainly hope so. No, looks like we're just going to have a 2-way battle as Jackson Resende gets past his teammate. Oh, we're going to see it side by side. Oh my god, it's going to get very, very close, but looks like everybody makes it through. And well, that's some battles I can get used to over and over and over again, and that's what Monza brings to us.
Well, Osmar is going to have the advantage through Curva Grande, but 1 car in the pit lane. This is going to be, I got to refresh myself, this is Juan Mativ. This is a pass-through, I believe. So the driver out of Hispano-America with a problem. Not sure what that was. It also could have been for a fast repair, but it looks like it was just a quick trip down the pit lane. I don't think there was a stop. In fact, we could try and check that. And, oh, looks like 13 seconds. So, color me corrected. Juan Mativ with a pit stop there, but that is certainly unscheduled. 38 minutes left in this race. That's not within the pit window, I don't think, at all.
Well, I'm sure he'll be hoping that it is. If not, well, he's behind some cars. He can definitely save a bit of fuel if needed. So, fingers crossed that his race work out, because if he has to do another stop, he'll definitely be losing a lot of time, especially around a fast circuit like Monza.
On board now with Blake Scott, as he gets a look in the mirror, at least, of Kevin Sandiego and Scott Kimbrough and Tristan Terracciano. 3 drivers all hot on his heels. I do want to mention a small discrepancy. Kevin Sandiego had signed up initially in the number 212. It looks like he's gone for the 288. So you'll see him in the 212 on the left side of the screen on the ticker, but in other uses, you might see him in the 288. That's what he scored as this afternoon. So small discrepancy there. We'll move with it as we do. 37 minutes to go, JP. We're seeing the race take form a bit, as Blake Scott has the advantage over Kevin Sandiego and Scott Kimbrough down to turn number 1, it looks like. And, oh, there's a very slow car there. Very slow car.
Oh, I'm not pretty sure who that is, but that could... Oh, that's what's
that was Hewins and Resende, I think. Or no, that was Osmar.
Oh, okay, so yeah, so it looks like Osmar is still stuck on a battle with Spencer Hewin. Looks like he's dropping quite fast, so I'm not pretty sure what happened there.
This is Rodhames Rodriguez out of Florida with problems, and he sorts out right in front of a Mercedes. I don't know exactly who that is just yet, but it's position number 20. That tells me that it should be Lupe Gonzalez Looks like, yes, it is Lupe. They're getting held up by this Ferrari, and he will go to the inside for the second chicane, go right on by and bring, it looks like, William Coffey along with, oh my goodness, that's one way to charge the apex there for the Rabbit Chase Racing. 157 moves on by. We saw that battle further up, though, with Resende, Hewins, and where did Osmar go? I don't see him in here anymore. He's dropped way down the order and a lot of damage as well. Something happened.
Yeah, exactly. I saw his name essentially dropping, now plummeting on the timing sheets, and well, that Ferrari looks very, very damaged. We're gonna take a look at what happened on our replay section, and pretty sure that was down into turn 1 whenever we called out that slow car. And what we're gonna have to take a look at, as they're exiting Parabolica, they're kind of side by side. Spencer Hewins, oh, that was a very aggressive close of the door. He was clear, but not by much.
Gets just clear of Spencer Hewins. Pretty important to do so, though, if you want to get the inside for turn number 1. But problems here arise with that slow car. Oh, they barely squeeze by that slow car to turn 1. And then this is where the incident is. That's so tough. That's a typical Monza incident, but there, as an experienced driver, you've got to know to wait. You can't immediately pull away. I know it's frustration will get the best of you a lot of times, but you've got to know that you can't pull right back into the racing groove. That McLaren was coming along, and I believe that wasn't Bray. I believe that was his teammate, but I'm not exactly sure who that was. We've got another incident live. This will be Spencer Hewins is involved.
Oh, so Oscar Camargo was involved in the first one. Looks like his main rival for the race was involved in just one now, as we do have another car, looks like, exiting the pit lane. And we're going to have to take a look at the replay to see what happened to Spencer Hewins.
We're looking for it at the very least. It's going to be tough to go and find it, but we will try our best. I promise you that much. We may not be able to get it, but I know there's been a lot of shuffling and a lot of speed differences further back here, just unfortunately. Well, looks like we aren't going to have that particular event.
Well, we're not going to have that event, but we're going to have this one. It looks like the three-way car battle for the lead is very much alive. Mikael Rudebusch, I'm not pretty sure. He should be saving fuel at this moment in time. And, well, I'm pretty sure they are not going anywhere. They have a 4-second gap to P4, so they're well clear of anybody trying to make a different strategy. And, well, if Mikael and Matthew are saving fuel, well, they're in for a shot. And now the question will be who's saving more fuel, because we saw how much fuel Dench can save, and, well, how much that can save you and how much that can gain you within a pit stop.
They stay nose to tail further up as here we go. Blake Scott wide at the exit of Parabolica. That was likely an off track. That was well onto the green AstroTurf there. I dare say that's going to get him a 1X. They will go on by 50th place. It looks like Dominique Angelicio. I'm not exactly sure, but Dominique getting passed up, and here we go. Kevin Sandiego looks to the inside, back to the outside. Oh my god, you've got to watch that down to the entry of the corner, and Kevin Sandiego wide. Then here comes Kimbrough trying to work his way through, maybe a little bit of contact. Kimbrough can't quite do it. They all stack up. Terracciano cannot get a pass done either. That would have been a great opportunity for Terracciano to roll on through.
Exactly, that was a perfect opportunity, but, you know, that's just Monza. You can easily outbrake yourself. Oh, it looks like we do have a Mercedes spun out on turn 1. That's going to be Ian Ward, I'm pretty sure. So that's quite unfortunate. Oh, look at that. That's frustrating. Just stuck there and seeing everybody pass you, and now he's going to rejoin the racetrack. But yeah, looks like a Mercedes spun out. That's not something we usually see, but unfortunately for him, quite a few positions lost, but no damage, looks like.
You had to imagine there was help there for Ian Ward to go on around. He's got some battling behind. Here's Scott Rice, that we were talking about towards the top of the show, or at least towards the top of the race. He's got a battle right behind, though. Mike Braun getting passed up, or no, passing Kenneth Michael, it seems. So Mike Braun making that pass. Scott Reister is currently, working his way through the field, and he's going to get another spot, it looks like, on, is this Guillermo Caratoni? It is. Guillermo goes slow out of the second chicane, gets passed up, and we'll go rejoin our leaders.
Well, a lot is happening, and that's Monza, and that's NARL, a recipe for perfection. A lot of racetrack, a lot of action. Kind of makes our job difficult, but it also makes it very enjoyable, isn't it, Andrew?
Kind of makes our job difficult, buddy. It makes our job extremely difficult, but it's a lot of fun. And here we go. Maybe a challenge for the lead, but Cal Rudebusch gets the draft down the front stretch. This is to turn 1. This is live for the race lead. And it looks like Payne are going to outbrake. Mikkel goes for the crossover, gets to the outside, down to the second apex. Here comes Matthew Dench.
Oh, looks like Mikael Rudebusch might be in a spot of trouble. Looks like he just gets clear of Matthew Dench. Now, will he defend the position or will he allow Matthew Dench on the inside? Looks like he's sticking to the slipstream. Mikael Rudebush looks down the inside. He's not going to be outbreaking the leader, but looks like he's going to be holding position. So racing is getting quite hard at the front. Looks like Mikael Rudebush is done waiting on the wings. Looks like he's on for the attack mode, and well, I'm ready for it, and I'm pretty sure Mikael is as well, because he was definitely committed down into turn 1.
Good to see Victor Miranda out in the chat. Remember that name from Long Beach not so long ago. Good to see Chris Beats out there as well, cheering on Mikael Rudebush. So many other very devoted fans, very excited fans. Lupita is out there. Angelica is out there in the chat. Tanya. So many great people chatting it up and talking with us as we get going. Well, I shouldn't say going. We get to about halfway in about 5 more minutes in round number 1 of 8 in season number 2 for the North American Racing League. While we have a bit of an opportunity to talk about it, I do want to shout out our partners with the North American Racing League. There are 3 of them, and they do a lot for this series. Here we go, Matthew Dench, a challenge on second. We might have to wait for a second to talk about Race Lab, Tam Livery, and JS Consulting as Matthew Dench finally gets on by Mikael Rudebush. That's good for second place, and it looks like that might fizzle out for the moment. Let's mention that Race Lab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Here we go. Dench to the outside to turn number 1. A fantastic use of the draft and trying to outbreak the race leader. He's almost got it, but he doesn't. They'll go into Curva Grande, nose to tail. JS Consulting provides custom website and app development, including iRacing League website design and hosting. Find JS Consulting at johnsedlak.com. And Tim Liveries offers custom packages for some of the best livery designs in iRacing. You'll look great in battles like this in the North American Racing League if you go to Tam Liveries today to get your iRacing paint scheme. This is fantastic stuff.
This is absolutely amazing battle. I mean, Matthew Dench nearly went from 3rd to 1st within 2 corners in a straight. That's aggressiveness, and that's something I was not expecting, but I'm definitely happy it happened. And, well, looks like he's on for attack mode. Mikael Rudebush is kind of losing touch, but, well, still very close to both leaders, you know, and this battle is just going to keep on going. I'm not pretty sure how long can Pedro last in front, but I'm pretty sure he's giving it his best. And, well, fuel mileage is not going to be great for him, but, well, he's putting on a show on the racetrack.
Pedro still leading for full-time esports. Matthew Dench second for, I got to refresh myself on that team name. Let's check it out one more time. Duck Hawk Racing Team. That is one of the more unique team names that we've had. Not quite as unique as Scuderia Chicken House from last season, but it's up there. And then, of course, Pacific Sim Motorsport for Mikael Rudebush. So 3 different organizations within this top 3, but they're all running Ferraris today.
Yeah, exactly. 3 different teams, probably 3 different driving styles, but 3 same cars, so it all just evens out between them. And, well, we can see it all evening out, and Matthew Dench is going to try going around the outside into turn 1 again. Can he outbreak the leader? Can he outbreak Pedro? Looks like he did. Wow, that's amazing seeing the GT3 outbreaking one another. Matthew Dench gets the lead so far. Will Pedro try anything to get his lead back?
What a move. Lead change number 1 of the season. It's Matthew Dench taking the lead in turn number 1 at Monza. He's going to hold it at least through Curva Grande. Will there be a challenge towards the second chicane? Well, there is for second. Mikael Rudebush dancing. Well, I guess you could say prancing in that prancing horse. Gets second place. I think Pedro just let him have it. I don't think Pedro wanted any of that battle. And gives that spot up to Mikael Rudebush. You got to wonder then if Pedro might come in on this lap.
Yeah, he could come in this lap. Well, that just gave Matthew Dench a massive break. Looks like the gap is all the way up to 1.2 seconds. So, kind of out of the slipstream, kind of out of the draft. So, that pass Mikael Rudebush just made on Pedro just made Matthew Dench's life a whole lot easier. Now, he just has to avoid any mistakes, and he will be golden. As we look now into 4th battle, it looks like 4th, we're going to have a small battle emerging. It looks like Juan Rivas and Mieres, Ezequiel Mieres, looks like they're close to having a battle, but they're close to 2nd and 3rd at this moment.
I just noticed that is Ezekiel. I was saying Ezekiel a whole lot earlier, and I apologize to Ezekiel. I just noticed that. It's much smaller on my screen for timing and scoring to see that, and that E just skipped on by me. I was kind of wondering, I thought it would be Ezekiel, and it is, so I'll own up to that one as we round. It looks like we're completing lap 14. Yeah, so we've got a lap car in front of Matthew Dench, the race leader. This should be easy pickings for Matthew Dench to turn number 1, and it is. That driver lets the leaders go on by. Let's talk about that amateur lead, JP. It's changed up a little bit. It is no longer the same as it was earlier on. I believe we have lost the driver that we were talking. This is a battle. This is a battle for position. This is Kevin Sandiego defending from Blake Scott. So this is very, very important for points. But I got to search down our driver that was leading on earlier. Man, I'm gonna be honest, because it's one of those new names. I don't even recall that name. Gosh, who was it?
I'm gonna try to remember it for you. I don't remember it on the top of my head, but yeah, Blake Scott right now leading the amateur battle, and well, putting pressure on some of our pro drivers, which is really, really amazing to see. And well, it's gonna upset some of them, but I'm pretty sure it makes us very, very happy. It looks like he's close to running in the top 6, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he's in 7th place. And well, he's doing fine in that Lamborghini. You know, I was not expecting to see a Lamborghini that high up, but well, he's definitely making it work.
So Juan Mativ has dropped way down the order, and it looks like Juan is now, I mean, it's really hard to tell, but I think in about 25th position. Pitted 5 laps ago. Doubt that was expected. I highly doubt that was planned. That's going to take Juan Mativ likely out of the amateur battle entirely and sort him well down the running order. But these 5 continue to battle through Ascari that time. We've rounded halfway in this race, quickly rocketing towards the checkered flag.
Exactly, that's something we're used to seeing in NARL, you know, a 15-minute race just flying by. It's just racing all the time, you know, it's non-stop battles like this one. It looks like we do have 2 side-by-side battles, and it looks like we just got 2 overtakes done in one shot. I'm not pretty sure who that was, but that looks like a full-time esports car.
Resende.
And, well, oh, that was Resende. So, looks like we do have quite a few cars jumping into pit lane, 3 cars, in fact. And, well, looks like one of them is Blake Scott.
Blake Scott comes in, Kevin Sandiego as well. He had just been passed up. Scott Kimbrough, he comes in. You can see pit lane becoming a busy place. This is right at halfway. This is about what we would usually, I guess, expect if you split this race into halves. But what we saw a lot last season was drivers going much further in the race, getting closer to 20 minutes to go before pitting. But these drivers coming in right at halfway this time around. You can see it's a very, very busy place. More and more drivers keep coming in. I want to say there's about half the field in pit lane all at once right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. You know, Monza is such a high-speed racetrack, and since these races are timing races, 50-minute long, you know, the mileage is just so much higher. So we kind of saw just everybody just jumping in as soon as we hit halfway mark. So kind of expect near full tanks at this moment in time, just like they started the race. And, well, we're just going to have to wait and see when the leaders come in. It looks like we do have a top 10 full of pro drivers, but all eyes are on Matthew Dench, Mikael Rudebusch, and Pedro de Oliveira to see when they're going to jump into pit lane. Obviously, Mikael and Matthew, they both have an advantage, you know, just kind of saving fuel behind Pedro. And obviously, Pedro might just be the first one to dart in, just punching the air and not being able to fuel save throughout the first stint.
I wonder as well if the series kind of tightened up the fuel restrictions a little bit to try and force these guys to pit a little closer to halfway and make pit lane a busier place. We'll see Mikael pit, it looks like this time by. He will do exactly that. One other driver in front of him. This leaves Pedro on the racetrack with little to no draft. He's over a second and a quarter behind Matthew Dench. At this point, he's bearing the full brunt of that error. And, this might actually back the leader up to him. This might back Dench up to him. Lapped car coming out right in front of Matthew Dench. That's going to make things a little bit more complicated for our race leader. And it's a Porsche, no less.
Yeah, exactly. You saw some last season, you know, some lapped cars making the leader's life a bit difficult, and that's something, you know, that can easily happen. We do have over 50 cars on a racetrack, and, you know, in a racetrack like Monza, you're fighting for position all the time. It's normal to be held up, and looks like that happened. Look at it, Matthew Dench making a small mistake. That's going to allow Pedro de Oliveira to catch him up a lot. So if Mikael Rudebusch gets a clean out lap, well, we might see a change of lead.
Exactly my thought. Mikael Rudebusch could easily jump in front of these guys now through the pit stops. There's a lot going on right about this halfway, and now we're getting closer to that 20 minutes to go mark that we talked about a little bit earlier. Let's go ahead and go side by side for a moment and hear a quick message from some of our partners here at Pit Stop TV.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence. After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the virtual Monza, Italy. 20 minutes to go. We saw our leaders pit that last time through, and JP, it was almost, we thought at first it was an underfuel attempt from Matthew Dench, but no, it was actually a longer stop for Dench by 0.3 of a second. It matches up right about with Mikel Rudebusch. Pedro Oliveira actually took a quicker pit stop, but longer pit lane time. That tells me that Matthew Dench was just a little bit more aggressive in the pit lane, and it's going to pay off in the form of the race lead. You mentioned aggressiveness from Mikel Rudebusch. My brain goes back to Brands Hatch so long ago in that Audi, and I believe it was Mikel anyways. I want to say it was Mikel. If it wasn't, then I apologize, but I gotta think it was Mikel Rudebusch back at Brands Hatch so long ago, and I'm sure one of his teammates watching can remind me if I'm wrong or correct or what have you. But out of the Northwest, Mikel bringing the fight to Matthew Dench, one of the best drivers in this series. There's a lot more that's sorted out further back for the amateur battles. Let's go ahead and touch on some of that as we round, it looks like, lap 18 for these guys. Here's a good battle down to turn one. A lot going on with Ian Ward, who we saw spun around a little while ago. Oh! It was, yeah. Yeah, that was, well, it's going to be a win. It's going to be a win in the amateur category at the very least. I don't see another amateur driver for several seconds on back. We'd have to go back to Diego Era in the number 154, I believe in 14th. Yeah, and this is quite a ways back. I mean, we're talking about 8-9 seconds, if not more. 10 seconds, I think, back of Blake Scott. This is the battle for 14th and 15th on the racetrack, though. Pierre Thompson getting up there, and how about that? A United States Postal Service paint scheme for Pierre Thompson. That's interesting. You don't see that every day. Riding on board here with Diego Etta working down. Oh my goodness, this 134 in front of him, a lapped car. I got to refresh myself on who the 134 is. There's 51 drivers, and most of them are new. That is Brian Sauerman. Brian Sauerman in the 134 Ferrari going to let these guys go by. We've seen a little bit of Brian earlier on in this race. Glad that Brian is being very, very compliant with these guys and giving way to all of these faster cars. That's what it comes down to is here we go. We'll have a pass in front of him now as, the Postal Service truck couldn't quite get the spots. The BMW staying behind the Audi there. Pierre Thompson could not get 14th spot away from Diego, but hey, there was at least a try, at least a good try, and that's the stuff you have to do as a passing driver. At least show the nose a little bit, get there, get inside of the mind ahead. But as I was touching on, as a lapped car, you can be slow. It's fine if you're slow. Nobody can all be the same pace, and you can't expect everybody to be fast. But really what's important is just being out of the way, being nice to the drivers around you, especially the drivers that are faster, and that's exactly what Brian Sauerman has done. How about this? Daniel Hall is battling, it looks like, with Sonny Brown. These drivers battling for 37th and 38th on the racetrack. And they should sort out, I'm sure, into different spots on the ticker. But look at those windshields for reference. And this is a battle for 37th. Here we go. This is big. The 172 trying to work his way on by the Team Empire blue car. And it's going to work out, it looks like. For Daniel Hall. Again, Daniel Hall trying to pass Sonny Brown. A couple of drivers that we've not talked about at all yet, but that's easy to do in a 50-car series.
Well, it isn't. The Audi got the position back on the Mercedes, and Parabolica was not kind to the outside drivers, especially when you don't have a lot of downforce. But looks like the Mercedes driver is not quite done yet. I'm pretty sure that's Zachariah? I'm not pretty sure how you can pronounce that. But, well, the battles keep on going, and if we don't mention the driver's name this broadcast, I'm pretty sure it's gonna pop in some others because we do have battles all throughout the field.
Speaking of, here's Juan Mativ that has fallen back to let's refresh, I believe the 39th position, maybe 40th. Doesn't show on, that's the one car I think that it doesn't show on the windshield, of course, the BMW M4, but Juan Mativ has fallen way back in the order, and unfortunately that extra pit stop for him. In fact, more recently, he's taken a 2-minute pit stop, so I'd imagine there was a crash involved with Juan Mativ there that has dropped him through the order. 12 minutes to go in this race. Matthew Dench still leading the way over Mikel Rudebusch. Nothing has changed there. The top three staying nice and tidy. Further back, Juan Rivas Brea is in the 4th position in that beautiful McLaren. That is a wonderful paint scheme, I have to say. That is a great way to... McLarens belong in orange and blue. That's a bit more blue than we see in proper McLaren liveries, but that looks good.
I was gonna say, it looks like the Formula 1 McLaren a bit with the GT3 probably. It looks like the orange papaya McLaren, and as you mentioned, it just looks right. It did not startle me whenever they announced the papaya orange McLaren. I much rather preferred the chrome one, the Vodafone McLarens, but it somehow just looks perfectly right, and I absolutely love the livery, and I absolutely love the job that Juan Rivas did it with it. And, well, 4th place. I mean, with a beautiful car like that, you cannot complain at all.
There's a lot of paint schemes in this race, obviously 50 of them, and a lot of them are team-based paint schemes. This one for SDS Racing. We mentioned TAM liveries a little while ago. What do you say we go ahead and talk about some of those? Of course, Clarence Rosa, he was much further down the field. I believe he's still running, and we should be able to find him through this field somewhere. Gonna be tough, but I do know that Scott Reister is in one of them. I believe I should be able to find him a little bit more easily. He's in 31st, it looks like. Back here battling with several other drivers. Look at this train of cars. Here's Scott Reister, one of the TAM livery paint schemes. John Sedlak is in one, and I've actually not seen John Sedlak in today's field. I just did see Clarence Rosa, though, in my timing. Here's Clarence Rosa. That's a pretty solid-looking Empire Racing livery as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It looks quite good. It is the German flag, right? I'm not going crazy. It is the German flag on a German car.
You know what? I think so.
Yeah, it looks really good. I love whenever, teams or drivers, that paint their cars just integrate the flag. And the German flag actually looks really good on several German cars as a livery itself. I can remember a Deutsche Bank livery on the Mercedes, actually, that I saw in Gran Turismo whenever I played that, and it was amazing. It looks like we do have a battle further back. Looks like for 20th position, if I'm not mistaken. And looks like that's Rob Rodriguez, if my eye does not fade me. And it looks like the Ferrari got past the Porsche.
Yeah, that's Rob Rodriguez, also in a TAM livery paint scheme. That also looks great. The Evolution Racing number 226, passing Joshua Jensen. Joshua Jensen started 50th. Look at that. Started 50th, as low as 50th, of course, because that's where he started. Is now 19th, 20th. Was 19th across the line, gets past there. He'll fall to 20th, I believe. So, yeah, Rob Rodriguez making that pass. Moving Joshua Jensen back down one spot, but still, what a race for Joshua Jensen. 50th to the top 20. That's properly incredible. To move from the very back of the field into the top half in a 50-car field, that's a feat in and of itself. And we talk about kind of wins that aren't quite wins. That's one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's just a major, major comeback race in him. Very, very well done. Now, this is going to get interesting. Matthew Dench just got 1.5 seconds clear of Pedro de Oliveira, who got past Mikael Rudebusch. Kind of gets rid of the first lap car, but he also has another one in front of him. Now, the question is, will it cost him time? I don't know. Last time he kind of overshot his second chicane braking zone. Looks like this time he gets it quite fair and square and gets it within the marks, but looks like the two behind him do kind of get held up. Looks like Mikael Rudebusch lost. No, that's Pedro de Oliveira. I do apologize. Looks like he got quite held up by that Ferrari in front of him. Mikael Rudebusch might lose a bit of time as well. Yeah, it looks like he's going to get stuck on the inside line of Lesmo number 2. Yes, he does. So that's going to cost him a bit of time, but that's just being left in Monza. Oh, and they nearly made contact.
And that was Rodhamis, I believe. Yes, Rodhamis Rodriguez in the number 123, the white Ferrari that those drivers just worked on by in the 45th spot. At least that's, I believe, how that would work out. We can double check that, I suppose. And yes, that's Rodhamis Rodriguez. We saw him slow into turn 1 earlier, and that's where we almost had that contact with Resende and his teammate Osmar. So that might be where you recognize that name potentially from. This is a not battle for position, but a battle for a lead lap car, the leader, to get on by. I believe that would be the 120 that we were looking at earlier, or one of his teammates anyways.
Should be. Well, Matthew Dench, I'm pretty sure, was not happy by the way that BMW essentially cut in front of him on the Parabolica corner, but at least he's going to have the benefit. Yeah, the 120, as you mentioned, Andrew. At least he's going to get the benefit of the slipstream. Looks like the BMW, whoa, it's kind of defending. Matthew Dench has to go left, right, and then right again, and goes down the inside. The 120, not really keen on giving up that position. Pedro de Oliveira is going to catch up just a tiny bit, but he's going to have the same fate battling that 120 car, and looks like Matthew Dench, well, he's on par for a nice victory if things continue as it is, but it's in ARL and it's Monza.
Here we go. Here's a potential pass inside of 7 minutes to go now as the 252 of Julian Bell gets on by Take Him. This is inside the top 10. Blake Scott has dropped a few spots and is now into 10th overall. These guys battling in front of him, though. Julian Bell, Take Him. Julian Bell gets that spot for 8th position. So a lot going on across the entire field. It's hard to keep up with all of it, but we'll do our best as we get down to crunch time. Another battle that we were talking about earlier on between Diego Era and Pierre Thompson. Those guys still very close to one another. Here's Pierre Thompson. in the 154. Now following the postal truck of Pierre, or sorry, that was Diego in the 154, following Pierre in the 218, the postal truck.
Yeah, exactly. This battle looks like it's going to keep on going. And that postal truck, okay, it's growing on me. I guess it would be better on an American car, but unfortunately, I'm not pretty sure we do have the Ford GT anymore on the service. But, that car looks absolutely great. And that Audi looks like it might not just have the legs on the back end of this race to keep up with that BMW, but it's a nice battle to have. If anything, if that BMW makes even a small mistake, I'm pretty sure he's going to be struggling defending from that Audi.
And Diego is second place in amateur. With a lot more cars in the field, that means a lot more pros. So the second place amateur driver is sort of a lot further back in this field, which means there's a lot fewer points up for grabs when it comes down to it, and a much easier way to fall, I guess, victim to, I guess, a larger deficit with your first place, or with your amateur winner inside the top 10. You're really going to have to pass a lot more pro drivers and contend with a lot more pro drivers if you want to be able to equal the points that your amateur counterparts are putting up. So hopefully that makes sense. But with points here in the North American Racing League, it's not points per class, it's points per position overall. So as an amateur driver, you are fighting the pro drivers for points. You're just not classified in the point standings against them. So you're still fighting them on track for points. You still need to pass that driver, even if it's a pro driver, to get more points for yourself. But you're not battling them when it comes down to it in the classification as far as points go. So it's a bit different for these drivers to work with. I know a lot of times in multi-class racing, it's multi-class by car, in which case, JP, as you'll know, they usually get, almost always, they definitely get sorted out into different point standings. But when it comes down to drivers, sometimes it's a bit different.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm pretty sure I guess you summarized that perfectly. And I do get doubts about it, and I'm pretty sure I can always ask that to you. And well, as you mentioned, you just explained it perfectly well. And it looks like is that Pedro de Oliveira just backing off?
Yeah.
Yes, it looks like it is. So not quite aggressive. Looks like he might just be settling for a nice rhythm. But backing off that much on the end of the race is going to allow Michael Rudebusch to kind of get close to him, and that gap to Michael is down to 1.1. So, well, this will get interesting on the final 3 minutes. Looks like the battle for the lead might just be done, but the battle for second place could be getting a reboot.
Yeah, there's a lot sorting out in these final moments. As down to turn 1 will go for one of the final times. There's an expected 28 laps. We're now in lap 26. So we should be at 3 laps to go that time by the stripe, which fits in, I think, with the timing as well. We may get 2 to go instead. We'll see. Now we work on by that Juan Mativ machine, the number 120, and this top 3 is spaced quite a ways. They are quite a ways apart at this point. Here's a battle much further down on the field, I believe for 20th position actually. Scott Reister has battled himself potentially towards the top 20. Armando Bejaran in front of him. We can use his windshield to tell as we go down to Parabolica. This is for 23rd actually. So Armando Bejaran 23rd, trying to defend over Scott Reister. Nope, not going to work. Scott Reister goes right on by. Those drivers are in the same class. Brian D. Long, though, ahead of these guys, is not in the same class. One of those amateur competitors, and I believe he may sort out into, it looks like, 3rd in amateur. No, 4th, I think. William Coffey is ahead of him as well.
Yeah, it looks like the amateur class, even though it's quite spread out, it might look like they have the same rhythm, the same pace, so that could be good. William Coffey, as you mentioned, looks like he's on the final step of the podium in amateur class, the 157. Looks like is that Scott Kimbrough in front of him?
Yes.
Yes, that's striking livery, so looks like this battle might not just be over with 2 minutes and 20 to go, so this could be interesting. I'm pretty sure they're approaching a lap car at this point.
No.
That's
the
battle
position. I can add here a lot. This is William Coffey catching up to Scott Kimbrough and to Jose Antonio Ramos. This is for 3rd. This is for the bottom step of the podium in amateur. This is big right here. If Jose Antonio Ramos loses that spot, so now, yeah, there we go. He is now heads up, has lost that spot to Scott Kimbrough, is now heads up with William Coffey. This is for bronze, if you will, 3rd place in amateur.
something happened to the BMW because he just allowed Scott Reister to just essentially shoot, Scott Kimbrough to essentially shoot in front of him. So I'm not pretty sure if he just is running out of fuel, something has happened, maybe a slowdown. But it looks like the battle for the podium is definitely on. Looks like William Coffey is definitely determined to go around the outside of Parabolica. Does he get the move done? No, the other BMW of Antonio Ramos looks like gets in front of him. So this is just going to be rinse and repeat as we approach nearly 2 laps to go. And look at it, the same machinery. As soon as you get on the slipstream, it's done and dusted. Is it? Well, looks like it's going to be a drag race to turn 1.
Here we go, down to turn number 1 for one of the final times today. This is for third and amateur. So close. So close into the braking zone. William Coffey around the outside of the first apex, but that's the inside for the second apex, the one that matters most, I feel, here at Monza in turn number 1 and 2, and that gets it done. To Curva Grande, he will go now in front of Jose Antonio Ramos, but Jose is not done. This could be a solid move potentially into the second chicane. Will he go for it? No. The answer is no.
No. Yeah, it looks like he's just saving his machinery. That could be a smart move. That lunge essentially down into turn 1 reminded me of 2 championship contenders this year in F1, but luckily we didn't have 2 cars on top of each other like we did. And, well, at least that's good. So 2 cars pointing in the right direction. Looks like Jackson Resende is not done making moves. He's going to be passing Mieres, if I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. And that's well inside the top 10. That's, in fact, for top 5 for the 5th position.
Yeah, this is big for Jackson Resende to get that spot back, now move into the top 5. We mentioned earlier, Kanani Esports, as it used to go by, now rebranded to Full-Time Esports as we take our Tucson Sound Art white flag. There we go, Tucson Sound Art white flag for the entire field. Now, this is going to be tricky with the lapped Lamborghini heads-up move to go into the grass by that Lambo here. This is side-by-side for 5th on the racetrack. Resende trying to keep it. Door slamming. We almost had a car on top of one another. Oh boy, Ezekiel's not going to be happy with that.
Shoulders out, absolutely no fear on his eyes. Resende just goes. I mean, essentially, he tried to use that car accident pit lane essentially as a buffer to go back into the racing line. But I'm pretty sure Mieres has absolutely Ezekiel absolutely was having none of it. And well, shoulders out came and Resende got the position. I'm pretty sure Mieres is not going to be happy with that. So he has one final lap, a few straights to try and get the position back.
A better run through Lesmo 1. That's big. Maybe some momentum for Jackson into Lesmo 2 here. Look at that. Misses the apex again. The Ferrari missing apexes at Monza. What? Here we go, the BMW. This could be big into Ascari. This is going to dictate how this battle goes. This is for 5th. A little ways ahead. Matthew Dench is going to claim a checkered flag. Here we go. Ezekiel on the outside to Ascari. This is going to be tough. Can he beat him into the braking zone? No. He has to sit behind him. And Jackson Resende off in the dirt. Hits the curbing. He's going to hit it again and maybe take him out. He does. No!
Oh, we saw that happening way before the contact. That was just essentially a freak show by Jackson Resende. Mistake after mistake. That's going to cost Mieres as Matthew Dench wins the first round of the NARL. Looks like Pedro de Oliveira is going to come 2nd. Mikael Rudebusch in 3rd. Rivas in 4th. And Jackson Resende is going to catch off P5. But that's going to be a talking point for the stewards.
Yeah, that's got to be a talking point for everybody in the field. And I mean, here comes Ezekiel. There's no way for Jackson even to give it up. I don't know if he was trying to or not. He was a little bit slow across the line. Wow. Wow. I hate that it kind of cut into the win for Matthew Dench, but that is a big enough talking point that's got to be talked about. I'm still just a little bit dumbfounded by what just happened at Ascari. Here's the amateur winner, Blake Scott. He's going to round things out, of course, in 9th overall, as we saw him earlier on. Further on back, Kim takes 10th overall. Spencer Hewins, last season's amateur champion, in 11th. Pierre Thompson sorts into 12th. Diego Era, that we talked about earlier on, he stays 2nd in the amateur category. William Coffey, as we saw that battle going on, William Coffey takes the spot over Jose Antonio Ramos Lopez. Oh no, Jose Antonio Ramos is stopped, and I believe gave up an extra spot here, potentially. I believe it goes the way of William. No, I don't know. It's all going to sort out. We'll catch up on that here shortly, but a lot just went on in that final lap.
Exactly. Quite a few stories are going to be told, and well, I guess the biggest one it's definitely going to be Resende. You know, that move, he, as you mentioned, he felt the pressure on Lesmo 1s and 2. And, well, outbreaking himself into a Scary chicane definitely caused that incident. We're going to take a look at the replay, I'm pretty sure, here. And, I mean, that's just going to be interesting to see. As you can see, yeah, there we go. So, going a bit wide into Lesmo 1 and then going wide again on Lesmo 2. He gets a bad run. The BMW is absolutely flying on the straight. And Resende is just kind of forced to go defensive, isn't he, Andrew, at this point in time? It's the final lap, you have to go defensive. And at this point, he just outbrakes himself. He does not have the angle. He just shoots off into the gravel. And then he hits that sausage. That absolutely costed him.
Yeah, he hit the first curbing, first set of curbing on the inside, and that's really what set all of that up. Well, obviously it was set up by the Lesmos and the way that Jackson had to defend into the corner, but really the contact itself was set up by the fact that Jackson Resende got all over. And you know what? Jackson Resende has dropped through the running order. I don't see him in the top 5 anymore. I think a penalty may have been applied there already. That may have been... Wow, I don't know exactly what went on. It also could have been an incident penalty. We've seen that before, but this is the accident one more time. Resende wide after hitting the curbing, and just the second, I guess the third apex, turn 10, technically, of Ascari. Wow, I don't know what to say. I really don't. I've just talked for an hour or whatever, but now I'm genuinely speechless. I'm stuttering. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to sum that up. I can tell you Ezekiel Mieres is at least sorting into 5th currently in our timing and scoring and our results. That's big. That's really big.
Exactly. At least a good talking point is Ezekiel. I mean, I don't know how, just did a perfect 360 after hitting that barrier, and that kind of saved him in top 5. You know, that could have easily been a car stuck in the tire barrier. Could have easily been a car without like a transmission, you know, just not being able to move forward. So the top 5 looks like it's guaranteed for him, but as you mentioned, could be an instant penalty because I'm pretty sure he got 1 for going off track and then another 4x for the contact that he made. So 5 instant points within 2 corners on the final lap at Monza. It's definitely plausible.
Well, and that 1x would be upgraded to the 4x, so it wouldn't be 5. It would be 4, I think, for that incident. But I mean, think back to Suzuka last season with the battle with Matthew Dench. The reason that Jackson Resende didn't win was because of contact into 130R, or was it into, I think it was, yeah, the Casio Triangle, my bad. But regardless, into one of the final corners, coming to the white flag that time. This time was on the white flag. Another chicane, another problem for Jackson Resende. Contact is made, and unfortunately, he drops way down the order. This time, there's no chance for Jackson to recover. He ends up dropping, it looks like, unofficially for now, he falls to 15th. I'm not entirely sure why. We'll find out, I'm sure, more later on. But 15th, it looks like, for Jackson Resende. Wow. We could say wow a whole lot more times, and it still wouldn't encompass this evening of racing. We're going to take a step aside. We're going to try and collect our thoughts here. JP and I, we've got a lot to talk about with these drivers post-race. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to cover this one, JP, but let's give it a shot. Let's take a quick post-race break. We'll be right back to you from virtual Monza momentarily on Pit Stop TV.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, Art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
On this edition of Cars Tour Would You Rather, on a cross-country road trip, would you rather drive or be the passenger?
Driver. I don't trust anybody else.
Probably go with driver. Probably just because I like to be doing something. I know passenger, you kind of just like look at your phone and stuff, but definitely driver. I feel like I like to drive quite a bit.
Driver first half, passenger second half. Just because.
Probably the passenger. I like doing the navigation and I'm real good at being a DJ in the car, so that's probably where I would be.
Driver. I like to be in control. Definitely driver, because I don't like riding unless I'm sleeping.
Driver. I like to be in control of what I'm doing. I'd rather be the driver. I'd rather be the one in control.
Definitely the driver. Specifically because I like to be in control of what I'm doing at all times. And mainly, I just don't trust other people driving.
The driver for sure. I'd like to drive.
Passenger. I like to ride. I don't know. Sleep, maybe. Who knows?
Got to be the driver. I like to be in control.
Welcome back to the virtual Monza, Italy. What a race we just had. I'm not sure I'll be able to catch up with any of it, to be honest with you. What I do know is we had a race, it was 50 minutes, and there was a crash at the end. The rest is the bit that we've got to fill in. A lot happened. A lot happened this evening. Pit strategy, relatively calm. There wasn't much of it, mostly just, well, I really think maybe a couple of guys getting into and out of the pit lane a little bit better than the other, and that's really about it that we had to talk about on the pit lane. Everything happened on the racetrack this evening, so a little bit different from what we usually have in the North American Racing League, but it still gives us one of the best in the business as the race winner. It's Matthew Dench wrapping things up for Monza with the race win. And Matthew, we're used to you up here on top of the series. You almost had the championship last season, didn't quite pan out, but you follow up with a win in round one.
Yeah, definitely. Didn't really get as much practice as I'd like here, but off-season was driving the V8 supercars and the new Porsche Cup car, trying to smooth out the driving style a bit more, and seems to have paid off.
And smoothness, I think, fits right into Monza, of course. Every single corner feeds you onto a straightaway. And obviously that's normal for most racetracks, obviously, but the big point is the long straightaways here at Monza. If there's one corner you can give away, it's maybe Lesmo 1. Otherwise, be it Parabolica, the first chicane, the second chicane, Lesmo 2, Ascari, they all feed into a very important straightaway, so smoothness fits right in. That said, it seemed like part of the race was won on the pit lane by just the slightest of margins. You were a bit more aggressive and a bit better in the pit lane and got just that little bit of a gap over Pedro to hold yourself in the lead. What was different there?
So the actual pit entry and the pit stop went well. The in-lap to the pit stop, I sort of second-guessed myself. I was going to come in the lap early, then I decided to stay out. Then I needed the fuel save to make it around. And I messed up the second chicane and like almost threw it all away. So if the lead should have been like 3, maybe 4 seconds if I didn't mess up that in-lap.
Of course, from there, it was no longer having to deal with Pedro. Suddenly, Mikel Rudebusch was on your back end, a driver that you've not dealt with in the previous races here for the North American Racing League. New to the competition here this season, much like Pedro. Was there, I guess, a bigger learning curve to trying to battle with Mikel? It didn't seem like it was all that long of a battle, to be fair. Once you got by him, you were by him. But there was at least him kind of in the mirror, poking his nose around.
Yeah, so from the start of the race, we sort of started going quick off, like straight out the gate, and then all three of us started just fuel saving, and I just sort of sat back and tried to watch their racecraft a bit, try and learn how they want to race, and looked like they were nice and clean drivers. So a couple laps before the pit stop, start sending it down the inside and get by and try and pull a gap and just run away with it by then.
So there you have it, one of the best in the series, Matthew Dench, on top of the scoring pylon this evening. Who do you want to thank? I know you've got a brand new team. Who makes it happen for you?
Frank Kodak is the team boss for this one. For another league, they don't race in this one, but this season for the NARL, I'm teaming up with Fabio and Spencer.
So Matthew Dench with a couple of brand new teammates, the 2 champions from last season, and I think the almost champion from last season might just make him a champion in 7 more races. We'll see. Best of luck, buddy. Cannot wait to see how this entire season goes for you, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you. Looking forward to next round.
So Matthew Dench, we'll see him back at Watkins Glen in a week's time, and I'm sure he will be one to contend with next week as well. But for now, we're going to hand things over to JP Costa with somebody else who was rather difficult to contend with for the entire field this evening. Brand new to the series, but not at all brand new to full-time esports, and puts them in a very familiar position. It's Pedro de Oliveira.
Então, Pedro, primeira corrida da temporada, garanto que foi uma surpresa, eu acho que para você foi ótimo te ver correndo. E, bom, me fala um pouco como é que foi tua corrida.
Boa noite, João. Eu tava me preparando aqui para falar o inglês já, né, daquele jeito.
Aqui que funciona nas 2 línguas.
Que maravilha. Foi muito bom, cara. A etapa, eu acho que saiu com um saldo bastante positivo. Principalmente porque eu consegui encaixar uma boa volta na classificação, larguei em primeiro. Eu sabia que eu ia ter alguns adversários aqui bem fortes para lidar. Então, uma pena o Fábio não ter corrido hoje também, que seria um grande adversário. Mas o Matthew e o Mikkel estavam muito rápidos. E o tempo que eu me mantive em primeiro, eu estava tentando economizar combustível para poder garantir a economia de combustível ali e seguir na frente, na saída do box. Mas foi muito difícil. Teve um momento onde o Matthew, acredito que ele já tinha economizado o que ele estava proposto a, e ele quis impor o ritmo, foi difícil segurar, e logo em seguida eu perdi a segunda posição também. Então, depois, na volta que eu parei no box, eu acabei tomando um slowdown na segunda chicane, e eu paguei um pouquinho o preço na saída do box. Eu saí uns 2 segundos e meio atrás e tive que vir remando. Depois, quando eu descobri que o Matthew ainda ia economizar um pouquinho de combustível, eu vi ele tirando o pé. Eu tentei ir pra cima, só que eu também precisava economizar, e talvez não tanto quanto ele, por isso que eu consegui tirar bastante diferença. Mas ainda assim, né, não deu um P2. O que eu falei, eu saí extremamente satisfeito com esse resultado. E vamos pra próxima. Semana que vem tem mais.
Pois é, a gente também tá bem feliz aqui, foi uma surpresa ótima te ver com esse ritmo forte e garanto que vai continuar nas próximas semanas. E como é que vai ser semana que vem? Eu acredito que seja um Watkins Glen. E como é que tu acha? Vai continuar com esse mesmo ritmo? Você acha confiante? Talvez a escolha de carro vai mudar? Como é que vai ser?
Bom, Watkins Glen é uma pista que muda um pouquinho. Ela tem um pouco mais de miolo do que a Monza, né? Bem mais miolo, na realidade, mas com longas retas. Então o vácuo vai influenciar bastante lá também. Eu acredito que os carros, a escolha altere. Não acredito que a Ferrari vá sair tão bem quanto em Monza, em Watkins Glen. Mas vamos lá, vamos treinar bastante, porque o pessoal acelera bastante aqui também. E é isso. Vamos pra cima, espero ter o melhor resultado possível. Quem sabe semana que vem, pole vitória. Vamos lá.
Exato, não vou esperar nada menos, eu tenho que ser imparcial, mas aqui eu vou torcer um pouco por ti. Antes de te deixar ir embora, o que tu tem que agradecer? Alguns patrocinadores?
Vamos lá, eu quero agradecer primeiro a Full Time Esports por essa oportunidade. Eu não sei se, acredito que não seja do conhecimento de todo mundo, quem está por trás desse projeto é o Tony Canaan. Então, agradecer a ele, agradecer a Full Time, né, que está dando uma baita oportunidade pra gente. Agradecer aos meus companheiros de equipe e a B8 Seguros, que é o nosso patrocinador principal que torna tudo isso possível. É isso. Mandar um beijo pra minha esposa e pra minha mãe e meu pai.
Aí que beleza, garanto que eles estão felizes se eles forem assistir. Mas é isso, Pedro, ótimo falar contigo, meus parabéns pela corrida e espero falar contigo semana que vem.
Com certeza. Obrigado, boa noite.
Boa noite. Alright, Andrew, we do have a few things to touch on, so obviously, let's start with qualifying. He was really happy with qualifying. Obviously, he set the car on pole position, so couldn't have been better. After that, he was confident. He was sad about Fabio Zamperlini not being able to race. He was actually looking forward to racing with him, obviously another Brazilian. And he said throughout the race, he knew that Matthew Dench and Michael Rudebusch, they were fast. He was very aware of it. But he tried as much as he could while on first place to save fuel. Because he knew that was going to be a major strategy in the race. And as soon as Matthew kind of just saved what he had to save, Matthew just started pushing. Obviously, he got past Michael Rudebusch, and straight after he got past Pedro, and it was really hard to hold him. We saw how quickly he got rid of them both. And well, during the pit stops, he kind of just he just got 2 seconds behind Matthew, just kind of got slow. And after that, he had a slow down penalty, so that really did not help him, on his quest to win. And then at the end of the race, he saw that Matthew didn't have enough fuel to keep on the same pace until the end of the race. So Matthew obviously started saving. He caught up to Dench, but unfortunately just wasn't enough because he had to save fuel himself. And well, he's really happy with the race. Obviously his first racing in NARL, and he's really positive with the bank of points essentially that he got. And he's excited for next week. He said that Watkins Glen is going to be a very different racetrack, and he's pretty sure that Ferrari and BMW won't dominate the race like they did here today.
There you go. Watkins Glen going to be a different race. A lot to talk about, I guess, in future weeks for Pedro to get more used to this field and racing with these guys. Cannot wait to see how Pedro evolves with this series and how he does battling these guys week in, week out. One of those drivers that he may not see a whole lot of, but I think in I guess, weeks to come, we might see more of this guy within the pro field. It's going to be Blake Scott finishing 9th place overall this evening. That puts Blake atop the scoring pylon as far as the amateur category goes. And Blake, we didn't really get to talk to you a whole lot, if at all, last season. This is big, though. First race win on the season. This is how you want to get a season started all the time, and it comes with a few extra positions over Diego as well.
Yeah, no, I had a great race. Had a lot of fun out there. That was actually some of the best racing I've ever been involved in. Thank you guys. A lot of fun.
Well, thank you for putting on a good show as always. That Lamborghini, we questioned it a little bit, of course. It's a lot more lively. That's one way to put it anyways. The chassis based on the Audi R8 that we see in other entries throughout the field. I know Scott Kimbrough runs one. You did a little bit of battling with him, I do believe. But explain the choice to go with the Lamborghini. I know you and Mark, you went for the Lamborghini a lot last season. But here at Monza, I would think maybe a front-engine car would be a little bit better.
Yeah, it's actually a car I've gotten super comfortable with over the past a few months. I've been driving it a lot, actually. I've been competing in other leagues as well. But I feel really comfortable with it. I like the kind of that mid-engine feel. I do like a looser car. It kind of suits my driving style, so I'm choosing to run it this season, and so far, so good.
There you go. That's the idea behind the Lamborghini anyways. But as far as this season, we saw you in the midst of the battle a season ago for the points. Didn't quite pan out the way you wanted. Spencer Hewins got the championship. But this season, you're off to the right start, the start that you need. What do you have to do from here on out? 7 weeks to go, beginning with next week at Watkins Glen. Home turf for you and I here. How do you attack Watkins Glen in the rest of the season?
Yeah, consistency is going to be key. Last season, I started strong and I dropped off. So just keeping it consistent throughout the season, not overdriving the car, and staying calm and staying cool and having fun. So I'm looking forward to it and hoping for better results or good results in the future.
So Blake Scott just wants to keep cool, calm, and collected. I'd have to say, JP, that's a pretty solid strategy. Buddy, who do you have to thank here, Blake? Who makes it happen for you? And who helps out with Scott Racing?
Yeah, everyone over at Scott Racing, the grandparents, my dad, my sister Taylor. Love you guys. Thanks for all the help. Well, yeah, we'll see you next week at Watkins Glen. Looking forward to it.
Hey, we're looking forward to it as well, buddy. Go get them.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Blake Scott finishes 9th overall. The win in amateur, though, the 167, taking top honors, at least in the amateur categorization. That's pretty big for Blake Scott. I believe out of the Pacific Northwest as well. We can check on that right there. California, so the West Coast anyways. Can't wait to see how he does next week as we get one of our home races. There's 3 of them this season. I gotta say, there's a lot of American races this season. Gonna be interesting to see how the Americans do at Watkins Glen. We'll hand things down to JP Costa one more time with our second place finisher in the amateur category.
Well, me just mention, you guys get 3 home races and the Brazilians don't get a single one. That's outrageous. But obviously, coming back to the point, Diego, can I get a copy?
Oh?
Hello, Ra. Alright, so obviously it's the first time we're talking to you. It's an amazing job that you've done, finished 2nd place. And what we know, it's a very, very high quality field of amateur drivers. So just kind of talk us through your first experience here in the NARL.
Sorry, man. I don't speak English. Can I talk Spanish? I'm from Argentina.
Yo soy from Brazil. Yo no hablo muy bien español, pero yo consigo entender.
Sí, te entiendo. I wanna thanks North American Racing League. It's a fantastic organization. You guys were amazing. Thanks all. I wanna thank my team, GPBA Racing Team. Give me the opportunity to stay here in your championship. Hector Fiori, my spotter, was an amazing job. The race was hard. Every lap in was classification, and don't say too much.
Yo voy a tentar hablar un poquito de español y traducir para Andrew. Tú dices que toda vuelta eras tipo cualificaciones. ¿Cuán difícil fue la corrida?
Muy difícil con todos los chicos que me tocó estar muy cerca en la carrera. La verdad que fue durísimo poder mantener un ritmo rápido de vuelta, y me gustó mucho la carrera y me gustó mucho el nivel de competidores que hay.
Bueno, fue muy bueno asistirlo en tu primera corrida, en tu primera carrera here in the NARL. And para semana que viene, Watkins Glen, ¿o qué podemos esperar de ti?
Con mi equipo, GPBA, corremos las Endurance, 10 horas, 24 horas, y hemos corrido en Watkins Glen. Conocerlo conozco, con los GTE tendría que empezar a entrenar con los GT3 para ver si puedo conseguir un ritmo parecido a lo que pude hacer en esta carrera.
Muy bien. Bom, pero si tú dices eso, yo espero muy buena carrera para ti semana que viene. Dito eso, ¿tú tienes que agradecer a alguien, algún patrocinador o algo parecido?
Sí, quiero agradecerle a mi equipo, a GPB Racing Team, Ramiro Díez, mi jefe, que hizo posible que yo esté en este campeonato, a la organización de American Racing League. La verdad que tienen una organización muy bien armada y me asistieron a... Déjame agradecerle, por favor, un segundo a Scott Rister, que me asistió en estos últimos días en qué era lo que yo tenía que hacer para poder estar presente, y la verdad que le agradezco mucho a él. Bueno, a mi equipo, a Natural Sur, a Biferno, Jungaski, a La Porfía, a PPA México, a todos nuestros sponsors en Argentina que nos permiten también correr las endurance que venimos corriendo.
Oh, muy bien, Anton. No mucho más para hablar para ti. Espero hablar contigo semana que viene también.
Muchas gracias. Un gusto.
Muchas gracias. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Well, Andrew, my Spanish is quite rusty. I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very rusty. But Diego and I guess we kind of got, in for one another. Portuguese and Spanish is quite similar. So I'm gonna try to give, an overall view. Obviously, you heard a part in English where he was thanking his spotter, but he said that it's a very high quality field. It was very, very difficult to get all the laps hooked in. He felt like each and every single lap was a qualifying lap, and he's very happy, to finish second with this field. Obviously, I asked him about next week, and he said that he and his team were racing in GTs, so he's kind of expecting to use a bit of that experience to translate into GT3s and get good lap times out of it. So he could be a force to be reckoned with next week. So yeah, he looks quite confident. He sounds quite confident, and hopefully we can see more of him next week.
Your Spanish might be rusty there, JP, but it's certainly a lot better than mine. Spanish class in high school, it was fun. I feel like I was pretty good in the class, but certainly not enough to talk to a native Spanish speaker, at least not right now. I'd have to brush up on it a pretty good bit, but hey, you did a great job trying to, I guess, bridge the gap there. Certainly appreciated, so we can get an idea of what Diego was thinking there after a second place finish in the amateur category. Matthew Dench ends up atop the scoring pylon, of course, with the race win. We spoke with him and Pedro de Oliveira. Mikel Rudebusch comes in third, Juan Rivas Brea in fourth, and Ezekiel Mieres in the fifth position. So that's your top five for Monza. What a wild race it was, and only one of those drivers was here last season. That is the big thing to take away from this race. Only one of the top five was in last season's championship. Kevin Sandiego, he finishes in the sixth spot. Julian Bell finishes seventh. Blake Scott gets that win. Ends up, I guess I mentioned ninth overall previously. I could have sworn it was ninth, but it ends up being eighth, it looks like. Spencer Hewins ninth, and Pierre Thompson 10th. And of course, I want to highlight one more time that Ezekiel Mieres ends up in that fifth spot after the incident with Jackson Rossendi on the final lap. They would have been a lot closer to Juan Rivas Brea, but obviously we saw what happened at Ascari, and Jackson Rossendi jumped down the running order with seemingly no explanation, but I dare say, JP, that it had to do with those incidents in the final lap.
Exactly, most definitely will, and that could explain Blake Scott moving up to 8th place. 11th place belongs to Diego Area, who we just spoken to. Tristan Terracciano, he finishes in 12th place. I'm pretty sure we're butchering that. We're going to definitely ask him how we can pronounce his name. Scott Kimbrell, on the other hand, finished off in 13th place. William Coffey in 14th. Jackson Resende, obviously we just talked about him, in 15th place. Josue Antonio Ramos, 16th. Joshua Jensen in 17th. Bruno Alcaraz in the 244 finishes off in 18th. Rob Rodriguez in 19th. And Ty Kim in 20th place.
Finishing 21st this evening at Monza, it is, oh, that's a bit interesting there, Guillaume Caratoni from Full Time Esports. Not a bad finish there, 21st overall, but I'd imagine that's about 5th or so in the amateur class. Pretty solid there for the 149. Brian Long finishes 22nd overall, right behind one of his amateur competitors, literally by just 4/10, so very close there between 21st and 22nd on the track. Brian DeVries, I'm not sure actually on that one, finishes 23rd in the pro category, a little ways down the order, let's be honest. William Valdez there. I want to say that William should have been scored in the amateur category. I could be wrong on that. I had to pull the list again, but Pablo Ferretti follows up at 25th. Matthew Casey in 26th. Osmar Camargo, that we saw so much of earlier on in the race, finishes 27th after that contact much earlier on with he and Spencer Hewins. Way back in turn 1. Lupe Gonzalez finishes in 28th, Clarence Rosa 29th, and Ian Ward rounds out the top 30 after his spin in turn 1 as well.
Well, the 31st place go to Armando Bejaran, the last driver not to be a lap down. Then after him, Daniel Hall in 32nd, Juan Mativ in 33rd, Zachariah Rosar in 35th, Kenneth Michael in 35th, Mike Braun 36th, Joshua Benjamin, not a great race for him, in 37th. 38th goes to Sonny Brown, Scott Reister in 39th, and Josue Antonio Ramos Lopez rounds off the top 40 for this race.
40th this afternoon. I do want to touch on something here. 31 cars on the lead lap at Monza, race 1, that's incredible. 31 cars on the lead lap there. Chris Winstone comes home in the 41st position. You see him there in the 137. Jeff Castillo in 42nd. Brian Sauerman in 43rd. We saw a little bit of that 134 car earlier on in the race. Johnny Jones finishes 44th. Radhamas Rodriguez that we talked about earlier on finishes 45th. David O'Connor that we saw a little bit of finishes in the 46th position. Sean Patterson down there in 47th. Mark Scott does not finish this race, 48th. Scott Angelo in the 49th position. And Dominic Angelicio will go with in the 50th position. That leaves one driver left, and it was Bryce Rodriguez, I believe, only getting 1 or 2 laps completed in this race. I believe 1 lap completed for the driver that finishes 51st. 51 cars. I don't know how we got through it. That was a lot, JP, but I'm glad that we got through round 1. That means now we get to look forward to Watkins Glen in a week and what a race it might be there.
Oh, if this race is anything to go by, this season is going to be an absolutely amazing one, just like it was last season. So, well, I cannot wait for next week. Watkins Glen is definitely going to provide us with great racing. Don't miss out, because I'm pretty sure if you do, you're going to regret it. And after that, we do have the beautiful, beautiful spot. But first, Watkins Glen, it's a very, very welcome addition to the calendar.
Yeah, it really is. It's still on the old skin of Watkins Glen from way back when, so curbing is not going to be usable in these GT3 cars. You pop curbing and you're going to be all over the TC and you're going to spin. So that's one thing to keep in mind here. They're not going to be able to go off track and use the curbing and the paved runoff at Watkins Glen like they're able to in real life, for example, in an IMSA with GTD cars that are the same spec. So that's going to be a difference there. We'll have to watch for that in a week's time on October 21st. Spa, of course, on October 28th. There's a 1-week break before we go to Belle Isle, otherwise known as Detroit, of course. The street course that IndyCar runs on for, or at least has run on for the last amount of years. Silverstone checks in at round 5, and Hungaroring and Phillip Island, we talked about earlier, are the big unknowns for us personally in the booth, but I cannot wait to get there. And of course, Road America, voted in by the drivers, rounds out the season. So what a season this could be. And it's all possible thanks to some wonderful partners here with the North American Racing League. Of course, Race Lab, TAM Liveries, and JS Consulting. Let's talk more about these guys. We have these plugs that we read off each and every time, but we get to see, of course, TAM Liveries work in the field. We get to see John Sedlak's work with the league website, North American Racing League's website, and everything else. And of course, RaceLab.app, that is a... Well, there's generally 2 different softwares that drivers use that I hear about, and one is RaceLab, the other one is another one, but really it comes down to RaceLab as is what a lot of these drivers use for telemetry and in-race overlays and whatnot to go by. it looks great on streams. It really does. So if you're looking to get into a stream and you need a way to get some stuff on the screen as far as a relative, maybe some standings or a track map or stuff like that, that generally is one thing that these softwares can do. RaceLab is one of them. And of course, for a driver, well, modern overlays, race statistics, native VR integration, which I think is huge. VR integration for RaceLab, that is huge. I know a lot of drivers opt to go for VR over traditional screens, so that's pretty big. If you're wanting to get yourself a software that gets yourself overlays, statistics, etc., etc. So please do consider racelab.app, JS Consulting, TAM Liveries for all of your future sim racing related needs or otherwise. JP, there was a lot to talk about this evening, but there's going to be a whole lot more to talk about in future weeks. Well, in future days, I suppose. Let's talk about the next few broadcasts here on Pit Stop TV. SCAR is back. We've not seen that logo in a long time. The Superior Class Auto Racing Championship on road this time. We've had their NASCAR Cup Series before, but now we get to see these guys on road courses. Daytona International Speedway for round 1, and with not just any normal road course cars. No, we get to go to Daytona on Sunday with GT1 cars. That's right, the Corvette C6 and the Aston Martin DB9. That, I think, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely an amazing. I love that car. Unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to race on it, but boy, the streams that I have watched, it just provides some fantastic racing. Andrew, have you ever driven that car? Because it not only sounds amazing, but I'm pretty sure it drives as well.
So a little ways back, a couple years back, I ran the Jimmy Broadbent race. I forget what he calls it, but a benefit race towards the fall of 2019 with Whiplash Racing at the time, and we ran the top class available was the GT1. They also had the Audi TCR because that had just released. The GT1 cars are beasts. We ran the Corvette at Circuit Zolder for 24 hours. Man, it was tough. Those cars will certainly beat up a driver. They are very, very tough to get around. I'm really looking forward to bringing them to the channel, though. GT1 cars on Pit Stop TV, that is a long-time dream, if you will. That is going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday, it's the Outlaws Sim Series, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's their playoff cutoff race as well, the final race before we begin the run to the championship known as the playoffs in the Outlaws Sim Series. So plenty of reason to tune in. NASCAR trucks at the Iowa Speedway, 7/8 mile. That's why that's that clever logo design. I really do got to say, I love the logo design for Iowa Speedway. You can kind of tell it's 7/8. You can kind of tell it's an I and an S for Iowa Speedway. It just looks fantastic. But the racing is even better. Multi-groove. You can go to the top side, you can go to the middle, you can go to the very bottom side, and with boxy trucks with a lot of power going to the rear wheels, they're going to get sideways a good bit. It's going to be fantastic racing. And of course, in a week's time, we've talked a lot about it. Watkins Glen coming up in a week's time at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the North American Racing League. We do also have one of our affiliated groups, if you will, one of our affiliated series, the Solid Rock Couriers Cars Tour season finale. The Autos by Nelson 250, presented by Bojangles at South Boston Speedway on pitrow.tv and carstour.tv. That is on Saturday. You should definitely tune in. I'm calling the shots over there. Should be a lot of fun, as per usual, with the Cars Tour. And of course, we have the Cars Esport Tour coming up in a couple of more weeks at Rockingham. Of course, you can keep up with everything Pit Stop TV, be it those broadcasts that we just talked about, or other upcoming broadcasts, or this broadcast that we had this evening. Doesn't matter what it is, all kinds of content goes up on the Pit Stop TV social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and the sort. They are all listed here, and of course, we broadcast to Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. So plenty of ways to watch Pit Stop TV, plenty of ways to keep up with Pit Stop TV, and we highly recommend following along with us. It would be highly appreciated as well. It was a wild one, JP. I'm kind of glad we're through it. I'm kind of glad we're on to round number 2. We get one under the belt. We get to see kind of how these drivers will get to progress, and we get an idea of how this season might go now.
Yeah, exactly. Last season was absolutely fantastic, and this one is going to be just more of the same. And this was first race. I mean, 50 cars, over 50 cars in battle all throughout the field. It was just amazing. I cannot wait for more tricky tracks, more difficult tracks, and I'm pretty sure these guys are just going to deliver week in, week out.
That'll do it from the virtual Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Happy to have had you all here tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. For all of Pitstop TV, JP Costa beside me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage. We have not talked about Trey at all yet tonight, but this guy puts in all kinds of work. Whenever we have him on, and even in between as well, he seriously puts in tons of great work. He's a full-time college student as well. That's what makes it so impressive. He's going to college, doing so much throughout the day. He's got jobs lined up throughout his day as well. He's got a lot on his plate, and he makes it all work. He's here every once in a while when we need him most, and certainly tonight was when we needed him most this evening for social media duties. So please, I mentioned social media a moment ago. Check out our social media channels. You can see his work today. It's fantastic stuff. A lot of great pictures out there, and he's a photographer as well. I want to give a big plug to Trey Shuttlesworth Photography. You definitely want to follow that on Instagram and the like. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. JP Costa, Trey Shuttlesworth sharing the broadcast duties this evening with me. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. I thank you so much once again for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.